Please don't answer weebs questions. How about no? Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to WattKeys, and today we have a very special video because today I'm doing the first Q&A video on this channel. I think it's somewhat of a meme now, me thanking you guys for how many subs I have in a video that I record like weeks before I put it out, and so I never get the sub number right. So I'm just gonna say thanks for however many subs I'm at right now, and really this video is to celebrate that. I should say at the time of recording this, I just hit 5K, but really wherever I'm at, thank you guys again so much for supporting this channel, for supporting me, and yeah, let's get to some of your questions. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not going to be able to answer all the questions that I got, simply because that would take too much time. So if your question is not answered in this video, I guess ask it again some other time, or I mean, I do get a choice and some discretion on whether or not I'm answering certain questions. So keep that in mind as well. But anyways, for your viewing convenience, I have split this video into chunks, into sections, and grouped similar types of questions together. I don't know how I'm gonna do that yet, so you should check the description for those timestamps. And yeah, let's get to it. All right, so I got this question a lot. Calico asks, what made you want to start a YouTube channel? So I started my YouTube channel back in October, right? But this was something that I had planned since maybe June or July. In May, I started getting back into really playing piano. Like in April, I started dabbling again, right? And started picking up some pieces that I hadn't played in a long time, or that I had never gotten to work on. And I thought it was a whole lot of fun. And then I slowly became more and more engrossed in playing the piano and felt like I was rediscovering like one of my voices that I had not realized that I needed for a year and a half. And so it's partially two things, right? I think that led to start the channel. One was what my violin teacher said to me once in 8th grade. Like, if you're going to make music, why wouldn't you share it with anyone? Because music is meant to connect people. And that has stuck with me for a long time, right? That still sticks with me today. And so that's the first, probably most important reason, right? This channel is created so I can share music and connect with people and get to know people and tell my story, as I've probably talked about several times on the stream already. But the second reason, perhaps a little bit more practical, is because I thought it would be a shame if I put a lot of time and effort into perfecting a piece and making it good, and then I just, moved on to the next thing, stopped playing it, and it fell out of my repertoire, and I never got it back up to that level, and I had nothing to show for it. Which is kind of like what happened with some of the pieces that I was playing at the end of high school. And so I thought that having a place to document it, since I'm, as I've said several times before, I am a sound engineer. I do have all the equipment that I need to record my piano. I might as well start recording it. If I'm going to record, I might as well put it onto YouTube. So I guess first and foremost is to share. And secondly, as is similar for a lot of people, it's for record keeping as well. And that's why I started my YouTube channel. So next, Sayuri-chan, Anime and Piano asks, who are you looking up to? Or who is your inspiration? I would be lying if I didn't say Animens, right? Animens really is inspiring in a lot of ways, and like in terms of the music that he makes, I really do look up to him a lot. But I think first and foremost, the inspiration still has to be the teachers in my life, or the former teachers in my life, right? Ursula Ingolfsson, right, for all that she's taught me throughout my entire 15, 16 years with her. Yeah, just incredible. And hearing her stories about touring in, Europe when she was younger, it's just incredible. And secondly, of course, my violin teacher from 8th grade, even though I don't play violin anymore and I stopped in high school, she really instilled a lot of interesting thoughts into me and showed me a lot of serious things about music as well. And yeah, so I would say there are two inspirations in my life. Third group of people who are very inspiring to me are local musicians. So as an audio engineer, I got to intern and work at a small local music venue, and every week I would run the open mics and just see incredible talent come through. People who are very passionate about playing guitar and singing, who are passionate about forming their bands, like after work, right? You just come out on a Sunday night or Friday night if you booked a show, and you play a show and you give it your all to an audience of 20, 30 people. And that was really inspiring, seeing people who cared that much about music to go through the hassle and logistics and time suck of practicing writing songs and then coming out and performing it for people. And so those people, I would say, inspired me to really step out and put my music out there. And I guess the fourth group of people, musicians, pianists, and stuff like that on YouTube. Particularly, again, Animans is a big inspiration. Just seeing the stuff that he puts out, but I guess especially for a channel like this, Tiffany Poon, because her whole thing, right, is making the YouTube channel to bridge the gap between who you see as the performer up on stage and the actual musician, which is her. And so, as you know, right, like I write my descriptions, the reason why I started the educational videos and even the Awesome Performance series is so that I can explain myself better and make a better connection, stronger connection. I guess I should say Tiffany showed me that it's possible to do that on YouTube and people actually care. So I guess those are my inspirations. And of course, after I got involved in the anti-piano community, just all the people who are passionate about music, who just play piano and put out videos and make their arrangements because they love anime and love piano. Those people are very inspiring as well, and that's why I hope that I can give back with the content I make. Ooh, Fonzie M. Are there any YouTubers in general you'd like to collab with in the future? I would say definitely yes, but like the problem for me right now in thinking about collaborations is I don't know what I would do. You know, I like, it's hard for me to collaborate in a performance sort of way because I take a long time to write and master and play, and that's just how I am. Actually, I am working on a collaboration with Fruit at the moment, but that might take a while before it comes to fruition. And of course, I have that little thing with Winter going, although that's been on the back burner for a long time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what sort of content I'd make with other people aside from like, you know, talking, chatting, streaming together maybe, doing reaction vids like that one time I did with Fruit on stream. Okay, so to answer the actual question, it would be super dope to collaborate with Animans, although I don't know what we do because he's way out of my league in every sense of the word. Halcyon would be pretty dope as well. Tiffany Poon also, because she's, you know, a big inspiration for the channel, as I just said, and because she seems like a really cool person. And of course, there's this one other channel out there that's kind of small, not really big, but you might have heard of him, is Fonzie M, since he kind of got me into, you know, anti-piano in the first place. So just saying. And of course, there's other people in the anti-piano community like Hayashi, who would be pretty dope to collaborate with, and Fruit, which is already underway. So I guess we're answering all the YouTube questions first. How's your future looking, say in about 5 years? Do you see yourself doing YouTube? If so, where would you be? If not, what other goals are you looking forward to? The third galaxy. Well, the third galaxy. I think in 5 years it would be super dope if I was still doing YouTube. I would like to do YouTube full time at the moment, just because it seems like the most viable path to doing piano full time or music full time for me. Really, I think I would like to do, like, okay, so the umbrella goal is do music full time. It would be nice to have it be piano and like playing and teaching and like interacting with people and making arrangements and stuff like that full time, and with supplemented by mixing and mastering, because I love mixing and mastering too. But like if either one of those starts taking off, that would be really cool. And YouTube seems, I've been saying this for a while, for people who I talk to like IRL and stuff like that, I think YouTube and social media is the best way to become an artist in today's day and age, because I mean the age of the record label is past. Record labels do have interesting things to offer prospective artists who are up and coming, but with a solid YouTube audience and high engagement, that's something like, even if you don't sign with a record label, you can say to a venue, hey, I'm showing up here, I'm going to book this show, this is my expected draw, and these are all important numbers to have. And to have confidence in ticket sales, to have confidence in people who support you, to have all these things. And I think social media is the best way to do that right now. And for me, YouTube seems the most viable. So hopefully in 5 years, we're still doing YouTube and making, I want to say similar content, but evolved content, right? Because you gotta grow with the times. But yeah, if I were doing something else, I'd probably be in like some like computer science field or whatever. You know, programming and doing something in industry. Let's move on to some of the more personal questions, or like music-oriented questions as well. The Applesauce 1992. What is a piece of piano music you would play every day for the rest of your life? Chopin Ballade in G minor, because it is my favorite piano piece ever, and it just tells any story that you want it to tell, and it's just great. Enough said. Erks asks, how and when did you realize that you had a passion for piano? Around 4th grade, I played a competition. It was a piano concerto competition It wasn't like a 1 or anything. I played Haydn's Concerto in D major. And I remember playing on stage. There was an accompanist, right? And I remember just playing and having a whole ton of fun, right? It was like there's like a panel of like 7 or 9 judges or whatever. And there's like sitting there, right? And there's like this big auditorium in a stage. And I remember playing. I bowed, walked out, and I was like, man, I had a lot of fun. And that was the first time I realized that I had fun playing piano, especially performing. I'd say the passion really came around like 8th grade, learning Chopin's Ballade in G minor, working through like some Beethoven sonatas and stuff like that. And yeah, like realizing that I could find a voice or create a voice and have a voice through music, through playing the piano was very important and instrumental around that time. And it took a bit of maturing to realize that. And I guess this, the passion that I have now really came last year, right, in April or May. That was a combination of both rediscovering the piano, right? It is like I needed that break before I could realize how much it meant to me. And then also watching Your Lie in April. So that did a lot to me too. Jedleo Q, who is your favorite composer? It's gotta be Beethoven. I think Beethoven's moodiness and his, how do I say, the life that's injected in all of Beethoven is just something that I always admired and I loved bringing out. I don't think I'm the best Beethoven interpreter by nature, right? Like I pick up Brahms and like Brahms pieces, like at least their interpretation much more quickly and much more rapidly than Beethoven. But like Beethoven's, there's just something about it, right? Like there's the storminess of the angry minor sections, and then there's like this bright, lively, sparkly, like glittery, like happiness that comes in the major sections sometimes, and like all these things are just, I don't know, so lively, and I like it a lot, and it's like, yeah, it's just a lot of life in Beethoven, and I love Beethoven. I guess I answered a whole bunch of origin story questions, right? Like the legend, how long have you been playing piano? What inspired you to? Siri-chan asks, what's your musical background? How long did you play? Did you play concerts, genre, and stuff like that? And yeah, Desiree, with what age did you start playing the piano? And did you always plan on becoming a pianist? Yeah, okay, let's answer those questions. I started playing piano when I was 3. It was not a choice for me. My parents made me start because Asian parents. And so yeah, starting around 3, that puts me up to like almost like, what, 18, 19 years of playing the piano now. So it's been a hot sec. It's been most of my life. And it's longer than a lot of my viewers have been alive. Yeah, I did not always think that I would be a pianist or that I would value music this highly. I knew coming out of high school that music, at least sound engineering, was going to be something important to me and that I wanted to do that at least part-time. But I never imagined a piano would be, right? Because I think after playing for, 16 years, 15, 16 years, almost like nonstop, competing, playing recitals and all these things, it just got really tiring. And so even though I liked playing it, right? I liked playing the piano and it meant a lot to me and it was a large part of my life. It was something that I was like, coming out of high school after I played my senior recital in July, like a month before I started university, I was like, it's time for a break. I need to take a break. I can't keep going with this because I'm just tired, And it was taking that break that then, as I said earlier, enabled me to realize how much I cared about it and then pick it back up with even more passion and fervor than before. So, oh, and yeah, did I compete? Did I play recitals, concerts, and stuff like that? Yeah, throughout my entire life, I've competed quite, not a whole lot compared to some students, because my piano teacher wasn't the biggest believer in competitions, because competitions are a very finicky thing. But I competed a fair amount. I didn't win big, really, at anything, so I guess that discards me as a pianist. But in high school, I did pretty decently well at like regional stuff, played at some pretty interesting winners recitals and stuff like that. But again, I think my biggest accomplishments as a pianist when I was in high school were not the competitions. It's playing recitals, right? Playing full recitals. I played my first full recital the summer right after my freshman year of high school. It was like a 45-minute long program, like a full Bach English suite, some Brahms like rhapsodies and like an intermezzo and something else. I think Ballade in G minor. And then 2 years later, or a year and a half later, that fall, I played 2 more recitals, and I played that program twice, 2 weeks in a row. And then my senior recital was I think the prelude to the Bach English Suite. I played this Bach English Suite so much, right? But it was because it was the comfortable thing that you wanted to start with. So the Bach English Suite, one of a movement out of a Beethoven Sonata, Mendelssohn Variation Series, and Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2, and that was my senior recital. There's some hefty programs, right, for a high schooler, and playing the whole thing really was an accomplishment. I think that's something I look back on and I'm like, wow. Like in that moment, I was really scared and nervous. I'm like, why would I ever do something like this? But like, you know, now I look back and I'm like, dang, that was really cool. You know, I think it took a lot of maturity and it was a real marker of progress in a lot of ways. Anyways, what do you feel when playing the piano? What's going through your head during practice as well as performance? I'm not strictly referring to emotions, but anything really. Even if it's just realizing that your hair's off. Vin Ludens. What's going through my head? It depends on, during a practice session, it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm practicing technique and grinding stuff that's like very muscle memory intensive, then a lot of times it's almost like therapeutic the way that I let my mind wander. I'll even daydream a little bit and like just not focus that much on what I'm doing because it's just getting stuff into my fingers. And yeah, it's a good time to ruminate on anime that I've just watched and things that are going on in life and stuff like that. Otherwise, I'm paying attention to how the keys are feeling sometimes, how my hand feels, where I'm looking, how the melody is, the arc is, the story that I'm trying to tell. I guess generally like how I'm feeling and how I want the notes to sound, and then, or listening to a click if I'm practicing with metronome. Moving on to the next set of questions, anime questions, because I'm a weeb. All right, let's get it. Andy SG, which are your favorite anime or favorite genres in general? And who's your waifu? Good question. My favorite anime is 100% Your Lie in April. I know there's like, you know, other anime out there that people are like, oh, it's better representation of classical music or whatever. And there's better romances, there's sadder stuff, but it was simply the fact that I felt like the show understood me on a different level, really. It was like even Kosei's character arc and learning how to be expressive, that's something that I had to learn. Like I was not a prodigy like Kosei, but I played pretty mechanically when I was a child too. And the way that the competitions are portrayed, the things they're going through their like Takashi's and Emi's and Kosei's heads when they're playing, the way that Kaori plays and approaches music, even everything culminating in Chopin Ballade in G minor, that like everything just slapped like really hard for me in a very interesting way. I say to a lot of people, my IRL friends, right, like even if you don't want to watch anime, if you ever want to understand what music means to me, you should watch Your Lie in April. Like that's how much I like it. As for genres that I like, I'm a sucker for fantasy. I've been a sucker for fantasy since I was in 3rd grade when I had read like Aragon and like stuff like that. And you know, I like tore through Aragon several times by Christopher Paolini and like all the other books in the cycle, right? But like, you know, Lord of the Rings, love fantasy like that as well. And yeah, that's true for anime as well. I will say I care a lot more about character development and like continuity of the plot now, but like fantasy always has a very special place in my heart. Romance also is interesting too, I guess, because Your Lie in April and stuff like that. And then after that, rom-coms, right? I guess they're like slightly different, but I really enjoyed Waterkoi. I really enjoyed Tonikawa and shows like those. I guess Oragairu is like in between the two of them. And Spice and Wolf is like somewhere in there as well. I guess all three combined. And then, of course, I like some slice of life stuff too. Like Teasing Master Takagi-san, good stuff. And who's your waifu? Allow me to show you. I think if we're going purely off of anime, I would have to say probably Holo. Oh, is she gonna be focused on by the camera? Yes, she is. I don't know, I really like Holo as a character. There's a lot to her that's very interesting. But like, I think if I'm going off of light novels, or even manga Holo, she would be too much for me to handle. Like she would, like everything over my head. I would be Lawrence, except I would probably get decapitated in like half a second. So yeah, if it's anime only, then it's definitely Holo. But if it's like, you know, all media combined, then Holo is probably second too. Oh no, she's stuck together. All right, they're currently posed together, so transport was a little bit tough, but here she is. Rem, call me basic, but I simp for Rem really hard. So So yeah, Holo and Rem, or I should say the true waifu is Speedwagon. I want your honest take on Sword Art Online, Claristologia, cover music. I don't appreciate this question, Claris. No, I'm kidding. I have a personal vendetta against Sword Art Online because I would have started watching anime in 8th grade if Sword Art Online was not the first show that I watched. Because the first arc was okay, the second arc was really bad. I think even people who like Sword Art Online would agree to that. I've not watched any more Sword Art Online beyond that. I went back and rewatched the first arc this summer, and it is a lot worse than I remembered, and I don't like Sword Art Online. But that's a rant for another time. Ajisai asks, do you like any video game soundtracks? So I think the only real answer, and to be fair, right, this game has a very good soundtrack too. But yeah, my favorite video game soundtrack has to be Doki Doki Literature Club's. It just slaps different. Oh, favorite Servant from Fate by Oaz? I don't know. I've only seen Fate Zero and Fate Unlimited Blade Works, so I think I'd have to say Saber, Arthur Pendragon, simply because I vibe with her a lot. And I think she's a very cool character, because she's also a very like tortured hero type of character, especially in Fate Zero. Unlimited Blade Work, she gets less development, but personally, really like Saber. I think a close second would have to be probably like Iskander, because he's just like Pog champ in every way, and he's Ryder from Fate Zero. This video is getting very long, but it's also a lot of fun, so I think I'll just keep going. Maybe editing me will have a lot of work to do trying to parse through all these things, but here we go. Technical questions for piano stuff, and this is why I can replace this week's tutorial with this Q&A video, because I'm answering technical questions as well. If I don't get to some of these questions, or if I answer very like hand-wavily, that's because it probably needs a video, like a whole video to actually explain. Siri-chan, anime and piano, what's your daily practice / warm-up? At this point in time, I'm not currently trying to push the bounds of technique for myself. If I really cared about technical things, I would be practicing thirds a lot more, and scales and thirds and like sixths and like some octave stuff. But I really am not trying to do a whole lot of that. I'm working a little bit, but yeah. So right now my daily practice and warm up is just like I sit down and if I have stuff that I've been working on for a while by memory that's like pretty in tempo, I'll work through those like very slowly to warm up. Or if I don't, or if I feel like doing something else, I read slowly, right? And that just gets me accustomed to the keyboard for the day and gets my mind thinking musically, and then I work on pieces. Some days I do technical things, and these are kind of like scheduled ahead, right? And also kind of on how I feel. Technical sections, right? Or some days it's more musical, some days I'm working on tempos and et cetera, or like grinding up technique in a new piece. So it really depends how I'm feeling and what I've decided for that week. Tips for those self-learning the piano. I know you posted a video about the common errors, but maybe some general tips would be good. Waters. Yeah, so for those self-learning, I think I've said the same thing many times on stream every time this question has come up. So it's good that we're getting this on camera once and for all. So the two biggest things for learning anything musical, right, any instrument, is get the fundamentals in technique down, and then develop the ear, right? Develop your ear and how you hear music. And so getting the fundamentals and getting the technique down is making sure you're singing with good posture, making sure your hand's not collapsing, right? Your fingers are like moving independently, and you're not playing with collapsing fingers. Your arms are at the right spots. You're not like tightening at like different various locations, and you're not doing anything that causes you undue strain, right? And you're building a foundation where like your fingers are strong enough and independent enough to do a lot of things that they're supposed to, and you're able to also incorporate different parts of your body or your arm as needed, because you've started from that like ground up foundation, right? And so what you can do for something like that, right, is obviously, you know, watch my video on how to avoid those mistakes. Watch other people's videos who talk about these things. You can get private lessons, right? And like, I mean, even getting private lessons for like the first month or like 2 months is going to be far better, far more useful for you than like, you know, just watching YouTube videos and trying to figure it out on your own. Because the teacher will tell you what you're doing wrong and how it should feel and stuff like that, or if you have a good teacher, right? So yeah, I think, yeah, building the foundation, building fundamental technique is the most important thing, but also developing the ear, hearing how phrasing is supposed to be, hearing how voices need to be sung, hearing how things need to be voiced, how the left hand should be played, all these things. takes time, right? It's like when you first start anything new, you just see like someone doing something cool and you're like, wow, that's cool, I want to do it. But like you don't see all the intricacies that's going into it. Basically, developing the ear is recognizing those intricacies, maybe not being able to do it yet, but like recognizing what they are. How do you approach difficult pieces and how do you manage your practice time? Well, I approach difficult pieces as I do for almost every piece, chunking, right? Split everything into sections, work through the sections slowly, raise the tempo of each until you get to a steady, like medium tempo, and then bring everything up in the piece together. And how do you manage practice time? Well, I think every day I start with one most important thing, right? So there's the warm up with the reading or like taking something slow, and then you just choose the most important section that you're going to work on first. And then the next thing is the second most important section. And then after that, it's just whatever, right? That you have energy and feel like working on next. And so, yeah, they can be from different pieces, the same piece. They can be like technical, they can be musical, whatever, right? But the first thing you want to work on after you warm up is always the most important thing, because that's when you're freshest, that's when you have the most brain power, and that's when you're most able to learn. And then you just go back from there or take breaks or whatever. All right, James Liam Figueroa. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. There are a lot of pianists out there that are trying to learn harder pieces such as Unravel in order to make them as challenges they need to pass. Not only pianists, but generally musicians who learn to play an instrument. Of course, there are also some who say the opposite, meaning you should learn easier songs so you can learn them easily. My question is, on what side do you think is better for the purpose of growth and experience one has to obtain? You chose the harder pieces for making progress. You briefly explained the pros and cons of the activity. It's tough, right? Because everyone starts off playing any piano because they want to play Unravel, and to say, don't play the thing that you literally want to play since like you first like got your piano is kind of discouraging to someone. But the fact of the matter is that you can't, right? You can't. And so I think I would say strike a compromise, right? If you want to start working on a very hard piece, understand that you shouldn't like struggle through it like that much. If it's like way beyond your level, don't struggle through it that much, right? Just take it slow, like play the first section or whatever, play some of the easier sections. And if you get stuck, then you go back to your easier pieces, right? Reason being is that if you're going to start playing these incredibly difficult pieces without having the requisite foundation built, you're going to create basically a warped foundation in order to compensate for all the things that you're going to try to do in a difficult piece. And that leads to injury later, that leads to like you being unable to take that to other places, other pieces, other songs, and stuff like that. So I think for the purpose of, you know, for the purpose of gaining experience, for the purpose of getting better, you should always play something that's like easier, like slightly above your level, right? Or like within your level, but still a challenge. And if you want to, right, then you should go and work a little bit on the harder pieces just to keep yourself motivated, right? Like, I'm getting closer to my goal. Don't make that your main focus. Don't make the hard piece your main focus, but rather keep it as a secondary thing just to entertain yourself every once in a while and to track your progress. Because yeah, also if you start on the hard piece and you can't do it, it gets very discouraging. Right? It gets discouraging and then you're like, I can't do this, I'm gonna quit. And you shouldn't do that, right? Pick pieces that are simple, but like also are engaging to you, that you like, right? And there's tons of stuff out there. Tons of beautiful anime OSTs, tons of beautiful like easy piano pieces, classical pieces, tons of easy covers of pop songs, whatever, anything, right? Just choose stuff that's within your level or slightly above, build that technique, and then from time to time, check back in on that Unravel, right? Play this game or whatever and see how much better you're getting. And take it slow, don't hurt yourself. How do you make good song arrangements to bring out the feelings and expressions of the piece? Again, that's a kind of tough question to answer. I think first and foremost, I feel like this actually, I would say 70%, 75% of this is how you perform it and not how you write it. You could take the most bare bones, like just chords and like the melody line or whatever in the left hand and give it to like a master at the piano, right? And it would sound beautiful either ways, right? And so I think the feelings and expressions come out with the playing, and the textures and the movement are helped by the arrangement. But like feelings and expressions are built on top of the textures and movements, right? So the arrangement is important, but so that depends on what you're going for, what you are personally going for. But then feelings and expressions are built on top of that comes from how you play. Matthias Bustamante, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. What classical piano pieces would you recommend for beginners or amateurs? There's a whole bunch of stuff that range from incredibly like easy, that's almost like insulting to your intelligence, to like really difficult, of course, in like piano repertoire. But I think if you're starting from like zero, starting with Kowalewski is pretty good, right? There's like some Kowalewski books, but they go from like almost insultingly easy to like, or basic, right? And I mean insultingly basic as in like you sit there and you're like, I don't feel like I'm playing a piece. But to something that's like, okay, now I see why this piece is called like the clown or whatever, right? You feel some of the jovial nature of the playing to something that's like, okay, now this is more robust and it's something that I can work on. And it's a very good progression as well. So Kowalewski has some easy stuff, but also my favorite one, right, that I recommend to like everyone who's starting off, who can play maybe some scales like a C major scale or whatever, and a little bit of arpeggios, is Kulau, Sonatina, and C major, simply because it's very easy to hear the phrasing and to start learning how to phrase. It's more romantic than like, you know, your Mozart or your Bachs and stuff like that, so it's easier for you to understand as well. And your hand rarely moves, like especially at the beginning, doesn't move that much out of this neutral position. And then the rest, when it does, it's like scales that you should be starting to learn already, or like arpeggios that you should be already starting to learn. So I really like Kulau, Sonatina, and C major for that. And some Clementi is good, but obviously if you really want to be serious about classical pieces and starting off, Bach's inventions, 2-part inventions, 3-part inventions, beginner preludes and stuff like that are all very, very important, because they teach you, you know, fundamentals of like just playing with fingers, playing with like the right articulation, and then like proper voicing. Notice I didn't say much romantic, right? And I think that that's for a very specific reason. Romantic playing, if we start playing romantic pieces too early, there's a tendency to play too much pedal, too heavy, whatever. But playing stuff that's more clean and like straightforward, like Bach, your Mozarts, your Beethovens, stuff like that, discourages a lot of that and helps you build that foundation of playing from the fingers first. Joshua Shin, tips to warm up and like what to play to keep your fingers in good condition, and how to get your fingers to play quick notes when they're flowing, like they're flowing. Tips to warm up: play scales, play stuff slowly, right, and like build up to it, build a feeling, do some light reading or whatever if you're at that level. Do some Hanon. I enjoy doing Hanon, right, for warm up. And practice to make your fingers flow over quick notes. Flowing is difficult, right? Like there's different types of flowing. Do you want articulate, like scales type of playing, right? And playing scales at 160 BPM or whatever. Or do you want something that's like very flowy, or like more shimmery, or like more connected? And that involves different amounts of wrist, that involves different amounts of arm weight and stuff like that. And so that's something for you to experiment, and that I can't explain in just a Q&A like this. That was my process for creating an arrangement. Arthur Haig? It's literally just sit down, listen to the song a whole bunch, pick out the melody, pick out the chords, write those down, and then see what I can do with the left hand to replicate some of the percussive elements or the bass line, and then with the right hand, see if that matches the feel that I'm going for. And then make it thicker with thirds or fourths, octaves, the whole chord, whatever, and then like mess with it from there. So it's a very trial and error sort of process. How did you learn hand independence so you can play 3-handed techniques as well as double melodies? Lots and lots of Bach fugues. Everyone's like, Animens is great at 3-handed technique, and I say yes, because Animens has played tons and tons of Bach, evidently at conservatory. So if you want to be good at like 3-handed technique, if you want to be good at voicing, if you want to be good at playing double melodies, play lots of Bach fugues, play Bach's 2- and 3-part inventions, play like everything, you know, everything out of the well-tempered clavier or whatever. Does it also depend on the piano teacher on how good you get, or does everything come from yourself, from Desiree or Desiree? I still don't know. The piano teacher is very important. Okay, so story time, right? Since 3rd grade, I've been playing violin, and I would say I didn't get good at the violin until 8th grade. 8th grade is when I switched to my last violin teacher, who was very, you know, very strict and but also a fantastic human being, fantastic teacher, right? And that's why her teaching still sticks with me today. Yeah, one of the best teachers I've had. But basically all my other violin teachers have very low standards for me, right? I didn't really care that much. And to be fair, I didn't care much about the violin either. And so it like no effort went into that. But like once I switched to Leah Kim and the standards were up to here, it was like, wait, hold on. First, I realized how much potential I had, right? And how much potential the instrument has. But then second, there was like a healthy amount of pressure. Again, there's like unhealthy amounts of stress and like strictness and like pressure on a student to do well, to play perfectly. But then there's also a healthy amount of expectation and a healthy amount of pressure that's exerted by the teacher that helps the student move forward, right? And I think having a good teacher like that is very important. Also, a good teacher needs to teach good technique, right? And how to hear and listen and do all these things. So I think a lot comes from the teacher, more than we give credit for. I don't know if it's 50-50 or even more than that, but like certainly both need to be engaged, both need to be enthused, and the teacher can play a large role in making a student more engaged or cultivating that enthusiasm for the instrument. Can you practice the feel of piano playing wise, or do you need to be gifted from blind banan or blinde banan? I think that we give too much credence to talent. I think talent is definitely a real thing. But like, again, I would say the reason why I am better than most other Andy pianists is because I've been playing for 18 years and not because I'm necessarily much more talented. Starting early definitely helps, right? Because brain formation, habit formation, whatever, right? Synaptic pruning. But like, you know, hard work is the most important thing. Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers talks about the 10,000 hour rule. And definitely people who make it to 10,000 hours are very talented, like are inherently talented, which is why they're able to make it to 10,000 hours without someone saying like, you're not that good. And Gladwell doesn't really get into that, but that's just my opinion. But I think hard work is very important for stuff like this. All right, and now for some random questions. Isaiah Smith asks, would you rather eat one piano-sized Tic Tac or one Tic Tac-sized piano? Since no time limit is given, I think one piano-sized Tic Tac because I do enjoy Tic Tacs. And eating a piece of wood does not sound very appetizing. What side are you on, donut or bagel? James Liam Figueroa. I feel like this is an inside joke that I don't know. Let's see. Donuts are fried, and bagels are parboiled and then baked. Donuts are more dessert-like than bagels, but bagels I feel like give more of a hefty meal. Like you can do like your egg, you can almost do like an eggs Benedict over bagels. Yes, I like to cook. I haven't cooked in a while though. I don't know. I think personally I enjoy like both for different types of purposes, right? But like I feel like bagels are more a little bit more versatile. So right now I would have to say bagel, but like if I get a good like, you know, like chocolate cream donut, yeah, I know too much chocolate, but like, you know, stuff like that. Oh, that chocolate ganache on the inside, donut. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Noel asks, would you rather have 4 hands or be able to reach C3 to C5 one hand? I think having 4 hands in today's day and age would be kind of tough because you'd be ostracized for a lot of things. Nothing is made for people with 4 hands, so that'd be kind of hard. And where would that 4th hand be? Would I have an arm attached to that? Would I don't know. There's so many questions. But being able to reach C3 to C5, having big hands is not unusual. And also comes with an extra benefit. I'd be able to palm a basketball. And if I'm able to palm a basketball, then maybe one day I can dunk. All right, Joshua Watt asks, from 1 to 10, how cool is your brother? You know, if my brother played piano and if he was a weeb, like, I mean, I think at one point he was getting into Bleach and he watched a fair amount, he watched all of Bleach and then he stopped watching anime. It's so confusing. And if he still played a lot of fingerstyle guitar, I think I would have to say 10, but since he doesn't do that, I think we'd have to go with a cool 7.1. And of course, the question that we opened with, Xmedian 003 X asks, please don't answer weebs questions. Bro, that's not even a question, and I'm a weeb, so what did you expect? All right, we finished. That was a really long video because I felt bad for skipping too many questions. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but that's for editing Caleb to figure out. Anyways, thank you guys so much for the questions. I really appreciate it. I'm happy that I'm able to share, you know, more of my story, more of my life, and, you know, give more advice on piano and stuff like that. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I, you know, watch like or listen to piano critically, the more I watch like really good people, it makes me understand how much further that I have to go. And I know that for a lot of people listening to me, right, listening to me talk about things, I'm almost like a goal, right, for like my skill level. And so it's like, you know, there's always room for improvement. And if I can help you get to at least where I am now, right, that's fantastic and really, really cool. And I really appreciate all you guys subbing and being a part of this journey, listening to what I have to say, showing up to my streams, you know, watching my music videos, and enjoying the content that I put out. But anyways, as usual, if you would like to support the channel, you can do so via Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon. Links for those are in the description down below. I'm starting to develop new ideas for Patreon and sub tiers and stuff like that, so please be sure to keep an eye out for those things if they interest you. Also, you can support the channel by getting WattKeys merch. This is pretty clean and comfortable, if I do say so myself, so please go check it out. Link is in the description as well. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, you can always ask me more questions and maybe I'll get to them, maybe I won't. And yeah, if you would like to hear me talk about other people's playing, analyze things like Animen's Unravel, you should click here. Or if you would like to hear me play, and you should click here as well. Be sure to check out my streams on Saturdays. The stream schedule is on my community page, so be sure to check that out. Until next time, peace.